If I have something to the power of -1, you'll get questions that will say, instead of having negative powers, we want to turn them into fractional form, and that's what this is doing. I have a negative power. The other way to write that is to make it into a fraction with 1 over whatever that base was. Now that is actually that only works for a power of 1. This formula here is the one that works for every type of negative power. So if I have a to the power of -m, it's always a 1 that goes on the top of your fraction. You move whatever this is, that whole thing comes to the bottom of the fraction and it just becomes a positive power. Okay, that's how it works. Now, do you want me to explain why it works? No. Oh, you don't want to know why? Okay, just use the rule, don't explain the rule. Okay. Yeah, it works in reverse as well. If I have a negative power on the bottom, I can bring it out of that fraction and it will make it back into a positive power. So all it really means is if you have a fraction and you have things on the top and things on the bottom, you can change them between positive powers and negative powers just by switching where they are, moving from top to bottom. That's all it does. If you have a fraction in brackets with a negative power, all that is going to do, if it's a -1, is turn your fraction upside down. That's all it does. It takes the reciprocal. Power of -1 means take the reciprocal, which means turn your fraction upside down, and it becomes b over a. If it is some other power, not just -1, -2, -3, another negative power, the negative means that you're going to turn your fraction upside down. Okay, so that's the first step, turn your fraction upside down and it becomes a positive power. But then you have to use last lesson's rule to still expand those brackets out. Everything inside needs to be to the power of n. Okay, let's do it with some actual questions. So example number 1, express each of these expressions using positive indices. So our goal is to get rid of the negative powers. All we need to do is, if something has a negative power, we want to put it onto the bottom of the fraction. So this a to the -3 will become a to the +3 on the bottom of the fraction. And I just put a 1 on the top because there was nothing else there. Sometimes there are other numbers there though, like this one. If there is a normal number at the front of your expression, that is going to go to the top of your fraction. And anything with a positive power is going to stay on the top of your fraction. So the b cubed has a positive power, so it's going to stay where it is. It's only the one with the negative power, the a to the power of -2, it's going to move to the bottom and it's going to become a power of +2. Yeah, easy? Good. C. Still have a negative power, this time it's on the bottom. Remember that it works both ways. If I want to get rid of that negative power, let's just move it up to the top. Okay, so the 3 is already on the top. The m will come up next to it and become a positive power of 5. And there's actually nothing left on the denominator when I do that, so I don't even need the fraction anymore. It's done. Part D, we have the fraction and we have that -1 out the side. So the rule said, if it's a power of -1, all I have to do is turn that fraction upside down and it becomes a 4 over 3. Power of -1 means take the reciprocal of that fraction. That's all you do. So E is going to be the same. A quarter to the power of -1 means take the reciprocal, which would be 4 over 1. Do I put, yeah, that's right. We wouldn't put the 1 on the bottom, we just change it to a 4. Part F, I had to put a few more things in there. Let's do one bit at a time. First of all, we deal with the negative power out there. That means that I need to take the reciprocal, turn my fraction upside down, so it'll be m to the power of 8 on the top and 2m cubed on the bottom. And now that will be a positive power of 4. That is what we did last lesson, expanding brackets like that, where everything in the bracket has to be to the power of 4. So that means for the little powers, we multiply them. On the top, that would be m to the power of 32, because 4 times 8 is 32. On the bottom, we have the big number at the front here to the power of 4. We don't times those numbers, it's to the power of 4. So 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which is 16. But the powers we times. So the 3 times 4 is 12. This question, I need another equal sign because I actually have m's on the top and the bottom. I can still cancel stuff out. So I could cancel all 12 of those off with 12 on the top, giving me 20 left over. I'm going to be subtracting those powers. 32 minus 12 is 20. And my final answer is m to the power of 20 over 16. All right, question 2. Oh, there's meant to be a sign between there. Is it meant to be a times sign? Yeah, thank you. Okay, these questions, some of the questions that you're going to find, they get quite a lot involved in them. Try to do just one step at a time so that you don't miss something along the way. So, 2a, the first thing I do, I see the brackets, I want to expand all my brackets out. So on the top of that first fraction, multiplying the powers, p to the power of 3, I want the 3 times the 2 will make 6. Then q is my next base. Remember that's a q to the power of 1. So 1 times 2 is 2. On the bottom, there's no brackets there, so I'm going to write that down. Not going to change anything. Second fraction, expanding the brackets, multiplying the powers together. So p on the top, minus 3 times 3 is negative 9. On the bottom, I have a q, multiplying the powers. 4 times 3 is 12. Okay, so I've solved the problem of the brackets. Next problem to tackle is the negative powers. Okay, don't really like simplifying stuff with negative powers. It makes it a bit messy. So let's go through again and rewrite that question, moving the negative powers and making them positive ones. Okay, so the first fraction, this p to the negative 4, when I move that up, it'll be up here, but there's already p there. There's already 6 of them there. Can we collect them at the same time? So 6, when these ones come up, another 4, there'll be p to the power of 10. P to the power of 10, q squared over 3q. Yes, Hayley?
How'd you get 10? Yeah.
Let me do an extra line. I'll do an extra line. Yeah, all I'm doing is I want to move that negative power. So I have the P6Q2, and on the bottom I have the 3 and the Q. But this one, this negative power, I want to move it up to the top, which will give it a positive power. So I'll have an extra P to the power of 4 up here. And all I did was I put them together. I went 4 plus 6 makes 10. But I'll do that on the next line now, now that I've done my extra line of working out. Let's keep going. So, in the second fraction, the q to the power of 12 is already positive, so leave it on the bottom. The p to the negative 9, that's the one that needs to move. So it's going to have to come to the bottom, p to the positive 9. Now that means everything has disappeared from my numerator. What should be on the top? I thought I heard it. 1, yes. If everything moves down to the bottom, there's going to have to be a 1 still on the top there. All right, continuing to simplify. Let's see if we can do some cancelling out. So, do you want me to multiply those p's together first? Yeah, I should do that first. Let's do that first. I have got, hopefully you've got more space than I do. The p to the 4 and p to the 6. When you're multiplying, you add the powers. So that's p to the power of 10. And then q squared over 3q. Times by. Okay, I just wanted to simplify that first one so that my cancelling was easier. Okay, that's a little 9 in there. Hopefully you can see that. All right, cancelling off anywhere from the top, anywhere from the bottom. So the p's, I have 9 of them down here. and 10 up here. So subtract those 9 off. 10 take away 9 is 1. I'll have 1 left here at the top. Q's. I have 2 on the top. Let's cancel those 2 off with 2 from down here, giving me 10. All right, is there anything else I can cancel? There's nothing left on the top, is there, except for, well, there's some P's. There's 1 P.
Why did you do the diagonal when you can do the 3 one?
Because I wanted to cancel 2. So I could have only done 1 there, so I just got to take the 2 from that side instead. You could have done 1 from here and 1 from there. But I just went for the simpler option. All right, multiplying what's left. On the top, we have got P to the power of 1. That's all that's left. On the bottom, we have a 3, and we have 1 Q here and 10 over there. So that's Q to the power of 11. Excellent.
Or do you add them?
Yes. So because that's multiplying the bases, you add those powers together. So you can see what I mean. There's quite a few steps involved. And if you try, some people will try from the very beginning up here to start cancelling things off. Okay? And the odds are you'll miss something if you do it that way. Do it in steps, 1 bit at a time. Let's try it again. Part B. First of all, brackets. Expand all the brackets out. So that means everything in that first bracket has to be cubed. 3 to the power of 3 is 27. M is my base. Multiplying the powers makes 12. 4 times 3 is 12. On the bottom, N is my base. Multiply the powers. 2 times 3 is 6. And P minus 5 times 3 is minus 15. Divide. We have a divide this time. We're just expanding brackets. We'll deal with the divide later. Everything in the second bracket has to be squared. So 2 squared is 4. And multiplying the powers. Minus 3 times 2 is minus 6. Now the P. 2 times 2 is 4. On the bottom, that's an n to the power of 1 currently. So 1 times 2 makes n squared. All right, next thing to deal with. We have got negative powers in there. Let's deal with those. So we have, leave all the things with positive powers where they are. So 27 m to the power of 12 over n to the power of 6. But the P to the negative 15, it needs to move up to the top. So let's put it up here, P to the positive 15. Okay, then we're going to divide by, let's fix the second one, 4P to the 4, because that negative power is going to come to the bottom, making M to the positive 6, N to the positive 2. All right, brackets are gone, negative powers are gone. Okay, so it's starting to look a little bit more normal. Now we need to deal with the divide. So the divide sign, we never do divides. We leave, kiss, flip. Leave the first fraction, turn it into a times, flip the last fraction. You look like me like I said something strange.
Yeah, no.
You haven't heard the leave, kiss, flip before? Ah, okay. All right. It's just a little saying to help you remember how to divide fractions. You say leave, kiss, flip, which means you leave the first fraction, so 27 m to the 12 p to the 15 over n to the 6. Kiss is because you're turning divide into a times, which looks like a kiss, leave kiss. So it turns into a times. And flip means you flip the last fraction. So m6n squared over 4p to the 4. You've got to try and keep it nice and neat, even though we're squashed for space here, because otherwise we're going to lose something along the way. Now we're looking for cancelling. All right, let's have a look. The p's, they look nice and easy. I can cancel 4 off the bottom with 4 of these ones, giving me 11. All right, how about the n's? I have 2 on the top, that's the smaller number, so cancel 2 off here, which will make 4 left on the bottom. The m's, are actually both on the top. So they're not going to cancel. We're going to add those powers together when we multiply. Looking at the numbers, check your numbers as well. 27 and 4, no, they're not going to simplify either. So now that we've cancelled everything, let's multiply what is left. I'm going to do my equal sign over here on the side. On the top, the only big number I have is the number 27. So it's going to sit out the front. Then I have m's. I have 12 of them in the first fraction and 6 in the second fraction. So 12 plus 6 makes 18. Okay. The p, I cancelled some of them, but there is still p to the power of 11 left. And that is it for the top. On the bottom, the only big number we have is the 4. And the only letters that are left is the n to the power of 4. And that's it. Always check your final answer to make sure there's nothing that you missed in the cancelling. But that's it.